And welcome back to another episode of Dogs on the Couch, where everybody's allowed to have an opinion. It does not matter if you played the game you were watching. So you're allowed to have an opinion as well. Well, what do you know? Browns ultimately end up losing to the Tennessee Titans in one heck of a shootout. I believe the final score was 31-29. Let's get right into it, man. There's no need to delay. Shedeur Sanders, 364 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, as well as a rushing touchdown. Let's just go over a few things. Off the top of my head, first rookie quarterback this season to have a 300-yard passing game. Joined Joe Burrow as the only two quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks, to have over 350 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, as well as a rushing touchdown. So the only two rookie quarterbacks in the history of the NFL to do that was Joe Burrow and Shedeur Sanders. There are a few other, just stats. He was the first quarterback since 1950, since the Super Bowl. It's a bunch of stats and records that he just is breaking for some odd reason. First rookie quarterback to win, for the Browns, first start since 19 whatever. And then, you add all of these just records and stats that somehow he keeps accumulating. And here's the thing. This is what this video is mainly about. Even though he's not playing to his absolute 100% potential, he's still playing so well that the amount of crow that's going around to be eaten is at an all-time high. And the reason being is because, and this is what I think a lot of these people who are getting attacked by the Shedorians or the Shedeur fan base, because this is my thing. This is what I can't understand. They have vitriol towards Shedeur because of his fan base. Well, unfortunately, he can't do anything about that. His fans are going to be his fans. And for me, the fact that his fans tick you off so much, it kind of says something about you as an individual. The fact that you can't separate the real from the internet. The fact that you let people with comments on the internet bother you so much, or the fact that someone could have a different take on Shedeur from the narratives that were being pushed. Everyone was called delusional. Oh, he's a 5th round pick. What do you expect? He shouldn't be getting any reps. He has to earn those reps. No backup QB has ever gotten any reps, and then we get that debunked by Cam Newton saying that Derek Anderson was getting reps, behind him, 6 to 12 reps, after every practice, as the backup to him. You had Shannon Sharp, both places he was at, he said the backup got reps. I mean, so again, just like for people who want to push the narrative that no backup in the history of football has ever gotten any first team reps, it's like, okay, I mean, that, like, you want us to believe what you're saying and not our eyes and what we know. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just wild. And the fact that people kind of are befuddled about why they're getting, attacked by the Shedeur fan, as the games keep going on and he continues to show more and more uh, not only just what we already knew about him, but he continues to show growth and improvement in the areas that were blown out of proportion. To say that these areas are so bad that's why there's no way he should be on the football field. Because we were told for so long, well, he's just not ready. He's not ready. He's just not ready. And then when we used to ask him, like, well, I mean, but why? What are you saying that he's not ready? Well, I mean, he's just not ready. But we could never get real, because we would be looking at it like, well, I mean, from what we seen the last time when he was playing at college, and then we saw him have a nice game in the preseason, and then the game they talked about in the preseason, the Rams game, where he didn't look that good, but he was playing with people that wasn't even in the NFL. Nobody really cared about that, but we was like, okay, but where's the other footage of him playing football that says that he's just so behind? He's so terrible. I mean, the narratives were he doesn't understand the playbook. He can't repeat the verbiage. He doesn't understand the verbiage of the plays. He can't get in. He can't get the guys in and out of the huddle. He struggles to get in and out of the huddle. What? And then the other ones, the actual real ones. These were the actual real things that even all of us, who kind of was on the upper side about Shedeur, we were realists and able to admit, yes, the couple flaws that he have, he hold the ball too long, and he go backwards. Well, that going backwards thing has kind of seemed to disappear for the most part. And it's not like it took him an entire season of developing to get rid of that. It's like he did it in the Ravens game, that half that he played in the Ravens game, and then for whatever reason, just seemed like the games that he's played after that, he doesn't really do any going backwards. And in this past game with the Titans, he was really, really good. Now, it was the one play that I thought where he didn't make the right decision. That's when he ended up throwing the interception, because there I felt like he should have just threw the ball away. So again, that's kind of where the holding on to the ball thing kind of bit you in the butt, because you holding on to the ball, and then you try to make a play, and it's like you throw an interception when you could just threw the ball away. But what I did notice after making that play, making that error, making that mistake, he didn't do it again. For the remainder of that game, if there was nothing there, he didn't try to make anything. He just threw the ball away. I even liked the one where it was intentional grounding. If they ended up calling intentional grounding, fine, I'll take that. It's not an interception. So fine, I'll take that. Because I even watched a later game. I watched a game later in the day. I believe it was a 4:00 game I was watching. I saw a quarterback do the exact same thing. Because when he got called for it, he was kind of pointing like, Fannin was in the area. I mean, which he was. I guess they just didn't like the way that he grounded the ball. You know what I mean? Like he was kind of ducked down like this and then kind of I guess the refs didn't like the way he grounded it. But I watched somebody else ground the ball the exact same way. They didn't call intentional grounding. So I don't know. But regardless, I'm cool with that. I'll take that over an interception. You live to fight another down. So again, he's kind of cleared up the things that were like these big, huge, oh goodness, he goes backwards. He will never stop going backwards. What is this? And then quickly that disappeared. It seems like as soon as he, can get a grasp on the mistake in real time, he then goes back and corrects it. Because this is what you know what? I'm going to wait for that part until I get to what Mary Kay Cabot had to say. But first, we just want to take a listen at some of these individuals who have been pushing these narratives. They're kind of now forced to backtrack. And one of the things that first of all, I commend them for backtracking. But my thing is this: if you feel so strongly about it, why you didn't just stand on it? And then ultimately, this clip that I'm going to end up playing, it proves what I've been saying on this particular channel for over a year now, which is the Cleveland Browns media has no idea what they're talking about. So there's no need to listen to them. I don't even understand why the majority of these people have jobs. I don't understand how they got those jobs. Like, I mean, are we, is it nepotism? I don't know. Are they rubbing elbows with people? Is it because they like to massage Kevin Stefanski's shoulders so much? Is that why they got these jobs? Is that why they got these jobs? Because it sure as heck ain't because they know anything about football. That's not how you can't tell me that. You can't tell me that, because a lot of the people spew out their own mouth and say, well, I didn't watch the game. I don't watch. Jason Lloyd loves to say all the time, this beat writer, this beat report loves to say all the time how he don't watch the, well, I didn't watch the game. I didn't watch the game. Well, I didn't watch the game. Well, I didn't watch the game. And my thing is this. If you like the game of football, you don't just watch Browns games. I watch all football games, whether it's the Browns or who, I could care less who it is. I watch all football. I watch UFL football games. I love the game of football. So I'm sorry. It's a game of football being played. Well, let me watch. Let me see what's going on. Let me see. That's how I got hip to Kevontae Turpin before he even made it to the NFL. He came from the US. It was the USFL. That's where he was. He was the MVP in the reboot year for the league for USFL, the reboot. He was the MVP of the league that year. That's where Dallas Cowboys got their kicker too. USFL. So I watch those games. Me and my son actually go and attend those games. Sit front row. You know what I'm saying? It's a great experience. It's football. So for me, it's a different level, when you're actually involved and you got skin in the game and you want to watch the games and you're just obsessed with football, as opposed to somebody who's just kind of like, well, I mean, I really only cover the Browns and not really watching other teams. I watch a little bit of the Browns game while I'm cooking or cleaning or doing something with my wife, and then I'm gonna get in front of this camera, and then I'm gonna spew everything that the Browns told me to tell y'all. And we're gonna hear Mr. Anthony Lima, courtesy of 92.3 The Fan. He's going to admit that the reason that he kept saying, well, Shadur's not ready and he's not any good and all of this other stuff, the reason he's going to admit that the reason that he even ever said any of that is because that's what the Browns told him. So he just, well, if that's what the Browns telling me, well, I'm just going to go with that. I'm not going to do no research. I'm not going to look at the games myself. I'm not going to watch the games myself. I'm just going to go with what the Browns is telling me. The same Browns that haven't been able to identify a quarterback in 20 years. I'm going to believe what they're saying, what they're telling me about this quarterback. Let's listen to Anthony Lima. And then this is actually, I think it's Nick Wilson and somebody else. I don't know. But, the main ones, they actually had a completely different mindset from Mr. Anthony Lima. So they kind of, doing a revisionist history and saying like, haha, I told you so, victory lap kind of thing. But let's just hear Anthony Lima admit that he was dead wrong.
I agree with you on this. For football, yeah. Shador was more ready for football. And you told everybody. Yeah. This is the thing. When people would get mad at me or Albert Breer or any of the reporters saying that there was this chasm between the two quarterbacks, well, it's because the Browns were telling everybody that. And then, by the way they operated, they were telling everybody that. So it was the Browns that planted that seed. And so, yeah, I ran with it. I made the mistake of trusting the Browns on that. And it's obvious to everybody that Dylan Gabriel was not ready, that Shador was more ready, and that, oh, by the way, Shador has way more talent. All right.
And I mean, this is the thing. For you to be getting paid to be on the radio talking football, talking Browns football, I don't think you need to do any research on your own. You don't think you need to look at any tape by yourself or look at any film by yourself? Or have or just even grow a set and have your own personal opinion. Like grow a set. Grow a set of cojones, man, and just have your own opinion. Are you forced? Blink twice, man, if you need help. Like, are the Browns forcing you to keep spewing their rhetoric? Or was that a choice that you made? Because you trying to put it off on the Browns. If they didn't put a gun to your head and say, hey, buddy, you better make sure that you tell everybody that Shador isn't ready. Like, if they didn't do that, Well, I mean, don't put that on the Browns. That's your fault for disseminating that information to the public. And then you wonder why people are attacking you the way that they are. Because they're looking at it like, buddy, we've been telling you this all along. It's been right there in your face. At no age, stage, or juncture in life has Dylan Gabriel ever been better at football than Shedeur Sanders. It's never been a thing. But because the Browns because Kevin Stefanski told you that Dylan Gabriel was better, that means that it's got to be true. The same guys that I guess deemed that Baker Mayfield was not good enough to be the franchise quarterback for the team. And he seems to be doing okay in Tampa Bay as their franchise quarterback. So the same guy that was a part of making that decision, you mean to tell me that you honestly want to listen to what he has to say about who's a good quarterback and who's not? Not only that, really quick before I move on to the next, that's beyond a fireable offense for Kevin Stefanski, because it's clear as day that Dylan Gabriel is Kevin Stefanski's guy. So you mean to tell me, because I remember a coach getting fired for this. His name was Hugh Jackson, okay? And he was starting to ride Taylor over Baker Mayfield, all right? Something happened to Tyrod. I think he had ended up getting hurt or something like that. Baker Mayfield went in, balled out. He didn't even have, it wasn't even, super crazy. But when he went in, it was just like, it was this spark, it was this fire, you know what I'm saying? You ended up scoring a couple of touchdowns, and win, lose, or draw, it was just the feeling of, oh no, this is different. This is different. Yeah, this is different. Everything looked different. The offense looked different. The whole team, it looked different. This is different. And then Hugh Jackson was fired. Because it was like, bro, how dare you tell us that Baker Mayfield, the reason you were starting Tyrod Taylor over Baker Mayfield is because Baker wasn't ready. That's what you told. You told us Baker wasn't ready. And then Baker got out there and he looked ready. So Hugh, you got fired because of that. But you mean to tell me that now when it's Shedeur Sanders, and we've been told all this time that he's so far behind, he's so incompetent, he can't even pick up a football, let alone he can't read defenses. He struggles to get in and out of the huddle. He doesn't understand the verbiage. They just made it seem like Buddy was just, oh, there's no way. There's no way. They kept telling, they was like, well, look, as bad as Dylan Gabriel looks, what do you think Shedeur's going to look like when he gets out there? If Dylan Gabriel got sacked 5 times, well, then it's going to be 10 times for Shedeur. Like, this the stuff they were telling us. Meanwhile, making excuses for Dylan Gabriel's mid to terrible performances by saying, oh, we got the most trash team ever in the world. We got the most trash offensive line. We got the most trash receivers in the history of football. This is what they told us. But then when Shedeur get in there with the same people, this is the same team, the same linemen, the same receivers that can't catch. These the same ones. The same players with the other quarterback who couldn't muster up 17 to 20 points a game. It's the same ones. He get out there with the same people and start scoring touchdowns and breaking records. Is what he start doing. With the same people. And then you get people who are still grasping at straws, because a lot of times it's hard to admit when you're wrong. Like, I understand. It's tough. Like, shit, when I'm wrong, I don't like to admit that I'm wrong. But at the end of the day, that's where integrity comes in. Respectability, accountability. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I don't care how tough it is to admit that I'm wrong. I'm about to admit I'm wrong because I am wrong. It is what it is. You gotta suck it up. I'm wrong. It is what it is. But for them to not be wrong, they'll say stuff like, well, it's just the Titans. It's the 1-win Titans. They're terrible. This is the worst team in the league. Okay, well, first of all, if we just being honest, Well, if that's the worst team in the league, then why did you say that the Browns had the worst offensive line in the league? Why did you say that the Browns had the worst receiving core in the league? When you saying that the Browns got the worst receiving core in the league, that means that the Tennessee Titans receiving core is better than the Browns. I've been hearing y'all say all year long that the Browns receivers is the worst receivers in the history of football. I've played the clips on this channel. That's what you just said. Well, that means that the Tennessee Titans receivers are better than the ones that the Cleveland Browns got. I didn't see Cam Ward out there throwing for 364, 3 TDs, and another rushing touchdown. I didn't see that. And he got the better wide receivers. Judging from what y'all say, he got the better wide receivers and the better offensive line. If I'm listening to what everybody else is saying. Well, then that would mean he got the better receivers, he got the better offensive line. So he's got a better team over there. But even if we do want to just say, oh, the Titans are just so terrible. They're just terrible. It's the worst team. That doesn't count. Okay, so then why is it that none of these other quarterbacks threw for 364? I think the most that another quarterback threw for against them, I think, was 298. I think it was Matthew Stafford. It was 298. And Matthew Stafford's Super Bowl winning quarterback. I think he might even have an MVP on his jacket. I'm not sure. I think so. But I know for certain that Super Bowl. And I believe he might have been in the Super Bowl. No, I think that was Cooper Kupp. But anyway, Super Bowl winning quarterback, Matthew Stafford. Franchise quarterback, Matthew Stafford. He didn't even throw for that many yards against the Tennessee Titans. So I'm just like, I don't understand. And then you'll hear people say, oh, well, that's because they were already winning, so there was no need for them to throw. They just run the ball from there. There's no need for them to throw. Completely fine, but you're moving the goalposts. Because here's the thing. Even with Sanders being forced to throw, well, again, if I'm using what y'all said, well, with him being not ready and so far behind, well, he can't read defenses. He's struggling to get in and out of the huddle. He's always running backwards. He's taking unnecessary sacks. So even with him being forced to throw the ball, if he was who y'all said he was, there's no way that he would have came back from down 31-17. I believe it was 31-17 with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. If he's running backwards and he can't read defenses and he hold the ball too long and then he pats the ball and then that tells the defense that he's finna throw it so they can get the interception. Why they didn't do none of that? Why they didn't do none of that when it was 31-17 and it was down 5 minutes and it was 5 minutes left to go? Why they didn't do none of that then? Why he didn't throw no interceptions? Why wasn't he running backwards? Why he didn't just mess it up? Why he ain't messing nothing up? I don't understand because from what you told me, he struggles to get in and out of the huddle. So even if he is forced to throw the ball, like how did we get to the point where he led 2 drives to possibly tie the game? And if the coach wasn't stupid, which we're going to talk about in a minute, calling these dumb 2-point conversions with all this stupid analytics and all this other stupid stuff, you could have at least tie the game and win in overtime. And if we going by what y'all said, he wouldn't be able to do that, even if he's given the opportunity to throw the ball so much. Because remember, that's why we was told that he wasn't throwing the ball all that much in the first game when he went 11-20. Oh, well, they kind of keep the training wheels on him and kind of keep him, boxed in, so he doesn't get ahead of himself and all this other trash. And then a week later, when he forced to throw the ball, he can throw. You find out, he can throw the ball all over the place. Hitting every throw possible. Precision passes. Precision pass to Jerry Jeudy. Precision pass to David Njoku. When he threw that pass to David Njoku, it was literally where he couldn't have walked to David Njoku and handed him the ball in a better spot. Because I'm going to start calling Shador, I'm going to start calling him walk it to him. That's what I'm going to start. That's going to be my thing, walk it to him. Because that throw to Njoku and the second throw to Fanning, he couldn't have walked over there and handed him the ball in a better spot. If he is who y'all said he was, he wouldn't be able to make these throws. It's not possible. He can't even read the defense from what y'all took, from what you took. So how could he make that throw? Because you got to read the defense first before you can make the throw. You said he can't even read the defenses. So how was he able to make that precision throw like that? How was he able to do that? How did he do that? Because he can't even read the defense, what you told me. Now, let's get into this, the 2-point conversion, because again, if you want to talk all that, well, it was just the Titans, it was just the Titans. I mean, you can say that all you want to, but at the end of the day, Titans is an NFL team. From what y'all said, they got a better offensive roster than the Browns do. And then not only that, Cam Ward was the number 1 overall pick. Shedeur Sanders was a 5th rounder. That's what y'all let him. He was a 5th round pick. So you got a 5th round pick outplaying the number 1 overall pick. Not just a 1st round pick, the number 1 overall pick. And outplayed him with a lesser than offensive supporting cast. And just so we clear, 3 offensive linemen were backups. And he played half the game with the center as the backup. So as trash as your starting offensive line is, it got even more trash because you had to put backups in. So he outperformed the number 1 overall pick with a lesser supporting cast. Okay, breaking out of tackles where they tearing his sleeve off and he running, diving to the inside. Let me explain something to you. If that was Josh Allen that made that play, y'all would be. I'm gonna do you one better. If this was next year and you drafted Fernando Mendoza, or you got your hands on your Arch Manning, let Fernando Mendoza had made that play where they tear his sleeve off and then he runs and scores. Y'all would have said that Jesus came back. Y'all would have said that was the second coming of Jesus. If that was Arch Manning that had did that, that would have been God moving heaven and earth. Y'all would have been like, oh, Jesus is back. Jesus is back, everybody. It would have been on the front of the Cleveland Plain Dealer, if they still make the newspaper. On the front of it, it would have been a picture of Arch Manning with them tearing his sleeve off and him breaking out. It would have been a picture on the front of it. They would have built a statue in front of the new stadium that they're going to build. They would have built a statue in front of it of Arch Manning getting out of that tackle with tearing his sleeve off. But when Shedeur do it, it's, he only did it against the Titans. That doesn't really, just the Titans, let me see him do it against, the Bears. And what's so crazy is I think the Bears defense, I think, is just as bad, if not worse, than the Tennessee Titans defense. And not only that, the Tennessee Titans passing defense actually wasn't, they wasn't bad. Like, if I ain't mistaken, I think it was only giving up right around maybe 200 yards passing the game, maybe even a little less. I think it might have been 198, something like that. I don't have it right in front, but it ain't too far off from the Bears. But if you're not watching football or you're not keeping up with any other teams, like how Jason Lloyd and people like that tell you that they don't do, well, then you wouldn't know that, now would you? You just assuming because of the name of the team. That's all. You just assuming because of the name of the team. You just assuming that their defense is good. That's what you're doing. No, I'm sorry. Like, we not going for that, man. Like, if that had been Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes making that play, you would have called it. It would have been the second coming of Jesus, man. I'm sorry. We would never hear the end of it. Like, that's kind of the way that it would go. Now, what I would like to actually do is get into the Stefanski debacle. Because all the analytics, analytics, the numbers tell you that you have to, you go for it every time. This is what we do in the league now. If you didn't notice, it's going around the league now. That's what everybody does. That's what they do in the league now. Okay, well, let me explain something to you. This is how I know that all you do is sit and crunch numbers and you're not really watching football games. Like, you had a football game on, but you would be like doing laundry or folding clothes with your wife or something like that. You're not actually really sitting there watching the games. Because when you spew to me, well, this is what's going around the league. This is what the league does right now. This is what everybody's doing. Well, first of all, you're not everybody. That's for starters. You're one of the worst teams in the league, so that ain't everybody. Everybody around the league is not one of the worst teams in the league. That's for starters. So for you putting yourself in the bucket with everybody else in the league, that was your first mistake, for starters. Because you not everybody else in the league. Because everybody else in the league ain't one of the worst teams in the league. So for starters, just you messing up there by putting yourself in the bucket with the rest of the people who using these analytics and saying, well, the rest of the league is doing it. Okay, but you're not the rest of the league. You're the bottom of the league. That's where you at. and there's only a few of y'all down there. Okay, the rest of the league is actually doing something with their teams. That ain't you. Okay, so that's for starters. So being as though that isn't you, you should probably have a different formula. You should probably be saying to yourself, like, man, well, all of our best players on offense is like rookies. That's who we pretty much use the majority of the time. Not to mention, I got a backup center in the game. So you know what? Instead of me trying to go for this first 2-point conversion, I'm gonna just go ahead and kick the field goal. Kick the extra point. Now I'm only down 7. And then now I could try to decipher later on if I want to go for the jugular and go for the win. Because see, real football people, this used to be what it was. You go for the win on the road, and then at home, you play for overtime because you at home. Now, what in my mind, even more of the reason that you play for overtime, especially if you at home, well, both teams get a chance to possess the ball. So it's no longer this thing where you're scared to go to overtime because if the other team gets the ball first, it's over. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. So for me, that's all the more reason, especially if I'm at home. Yeah, well, overtime is definitely in my mind. If I make it to overtime, well, we're gonna at least get a shot with the ball. In the last 2 drives that I watched Shador with the ball, he scored. So I'm sorry, that leads me to believe, and we got the momentum on our side. That leads me to believe if I get him the ball again, he might mess around and go down here and score again. So why would I take that opportunity away before I even get a chance to have the opportunity? I'm taking it away. Because the analytics, they say, oh, well, if it's a 48% conversion rate, then if you don't get it the first time, then you'll get it the second time. No, you counting chickens before they hatch. That's what I call it. You putting the cart before the horse. That's what you're doing. You know who can do that? Teams like the Chiefs or the Bills or the Eagles. And truth be told, this year, even them teams might struggle doing that. Because they didn't have some struggles here or there. You know what I'm saying? They still managed to win games because they don't make dumb decisions. So again, you not none of those kinds of teams. You're the furthest thing from those kinds of teams. And then when we get to the second one that's forced, now you have to go for 2 this second time that you score. You take your best the guy who's been your best offensive player, both passing and running, because he led the team in rushing yards too. So your best offensive player for this game, he's been the best offensive player that you had, period. You take him off the field. And this is coming from a guy who I said before when they was doing it in the Raiders game, I didn't call it sabotage. I said, hey, man, look, if you scoring doing the Wildcat, cool. I'm not finna complain about it. If it works, cool. It worked, go ahead. However, this is a different scenario. This is where you have to go with instincts. You have to go with feel. This is where Kevin Stefanski sucks as a coach. He don't have that. Because they even said, Stefanski and them even said, that 2-point conversion play was already determined that was going to be the play as the drive was happening. So you're not having it. You're not using your feel for the game and the instincts of what's going on and the fact that Shador cooking with grease right now. He hot as can be. You're not factoring any of that in. You just saying, oh, look, if we get down here, we doing this no matter what. That's another flaw as a head coach. Because again, I think that's why we talk about how you struggle making adjustments. I don't think you can. Because if you could, then you would have moved off of that play. You would have moved off of that. You would have been like, hey, man, I know we were saying that we finna run this Wildcat, but the way this kid going right now, and the fact that last time we got this close, he was able to convert throwing the ball. And you know what? We finna scrap that Wildcat. We finna let Shador throw. We finna let him go ahead. We finna let Shador throw it. He got the hot hand, so we gonna ride with this. Okay? Because when it was Jameis Winston last year and he was going almost throwing for 400 yards, you went and you got in Ken Dorsey's ear. Hey, keep it in his hands. Keep it in his hands. Keep it in Five's hands. Keep it in Five's hands. That's what you did last year, buddy. That's what you did. I'm on this channel with the proof. That's what you did. But this time, when you got a hot hand, you take him off of the field to run the Wildcat. Not only that, when you run the Wildcat, you run a variation of it, because this is my thing. I would have rather you just ran the power Wildcat and then get stopped. I would have just rather you did that, because that's what you had been doing. Just run it. You gonna run the Wildcat? All right, run it. Because first of all, when you trot the Wildcat out there, you're telling the defense what you finna do. So you automatically, when you trot that Wildcat out there, you pretty much eliminate throwing the football. So the other team is looking like, well, you either finna run it or this finna be some trickery. So they kind of already know what you finna do. But you mean to tell me the trickery that you drew up, Judkins was supposed to pitch the ball to Gage Larvin? The same Gage Larvin that struggles holding on to the ball. Because we do know that he muffs pretty much every other punt that he fields, right? So the guy who struggles to hold on to the ball, that's who you want to pitch it to? Even if you do want to say, well, if he just pitches the ball, there's a wide open lane. I'm not so sure he catches it. Like, this is what I would be thinking about. Like, I'm already watching him struggle fielding the kicks and punch. And this is a fair catch. You just fair catch. Nobody can touch you. So it's nothing to be worried about. All you got to do is catch the ball. But in live action, where somebody could actually break through and touch you, I'm supposed to think that he finna handle this important play, when I've been watching him struggle to field the ball correctly, to hold on to the ball. I'm watching him struggle. I'm sorry. How do you, make that make sense? At some point, you have to get away from, well, the numbers tell us to do this. Yeah, but in those numbers that you're looking at, them numbers that was crunched, they didn't crunch them numbers with the worst offensive line, the worst receiving core, all rookies that's performing the play. They're all rookies. They don't have any experience. They're all rookies, so they don't have any experience in a situation like this. This is all stuff that the numbers is not telling you. They're just numbers. Well, that's the problem. Football is more than just numbers. Are the numbers there? Can they help? Yes. Yes, but that's not the essence of football. The essence of football is relationships. It's in here. That's the essence of football. Getting a feel for your teammates and different things of that nature. Creating an identity. Building a bond. That's the essence of football. Numbers don't factor that in. And you just went with the numbers. But for the people who do want to go with the numbers, and well, that's what's going on in the league now, and this and that, and this and that. Now, I'm going to use this loosely, okay, because I didn't actually do the research myself. I will when I get the time. I didn't actually do the research myself, but it sounds like someone who's pretty credible did. Now, if I had to double back because the take is wrong, then it's wrong. And I'm just going to have to admit that the take was wrong. But for now, I kind of want to go with this because, everybody's, oh, well, that's what you do. That's what you do. That's what you do. And you're stupid if you don't. Down 14 in the fourth quarter, go for 2 the very first time that you scored. Oh, you dumb if you don't do it. So let's just hear some of the statistics on teams doing that, because that's what's supposed to be, that's what everybody in the league is doing, right? That's what they're all doing. So that's what you should do too. Clearly, you dumb if you don't.
I will say about yesterday's game, I looked it up. There's been 48 times teams in the fourth quarter have been down 14 and scored a touchdown. Only 14 of those times did they go for 2. I don't even do that on Madden. So what sense does it make? And did the analytics say run a reverse? Was that part of the analytics?
See, that
very great point. Because first of all, I believe you said it was 48 times. And out of those 48 times, only 14 times did the team go for 2. So if that's just what's going on and you have to, you got to do this. why is it that out of 48 times, was it only 14 that was done? If that's just the new norm, why is it that only 14 times out of 48 did they do that? And then not only that, what I would like to know is, out of those 14 times, how many of them were actually successful? That's what I also would like to know. But just the fact that 48 times, only 14 actually went for two, well, I'm sorry, that crushes the argument of, well, this is the new norm. This is what everybody does. You have to do this. I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, the number says that it gives you the better chance of winning and blah, 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 blah. First of all, you got to be a winner. That's for starters. Browns are not winners right now. That's just being honest. So you should play to be in the game, to give yourself every opportunity to win. Not be aggressive like, we know we about to win. No, you don't. No, you don't. At this point, you should be happy that Shedeur brought you back and say, you know what, we just happy that he brought us back. We just gonna kick this field goal and stay in the game. We gonna kick this extra point and stay in the game. Okay, we not finna get all cocky and cute. We not about to do that. Okay, we happy to be here. Okay, because for just a minute ago we was down 31-17. Okay, so I didn't even see us being at this point. So let me not mess it up. Kevin can't get out of his own way. It is what it is. So miss me with the 2-point conversion and that being a smart idea or a smart thing to do. That's one of the dumbest things that I've ever seen. Well, let me just say, I'll add that to the list of all of the stupid, dumb things that I've watched Kevin Stefanski do. And I'm going to add that to the list because I'm definitely going to do a video. All the reasons why Stefanski is not a good coach. That's going to be one of them. And then last but not least, Mr. Not a good coach. The narratives are spinning. And again, this is for people who can't admit when they're wrong. The narratives are starting to spin now that, well, I mean, you know, the reason that Shedeur is being so good is because he's been developed in the shadows, and, you know, Kevin Stefanski, and, you know, he's in that office with Kevin Stefanski, and Stefanski is secretly developing. Matter of fact, let's listen to Mary Kay Cabot. Let's listen to what she has to say about Shedeur's performance and why he's performing the way that he's performing.
And manage a game and just process so quickly. And it's not that they didn't think Shedeur had that kind of a high football acumen, because he does. But he was starting a little bit back further in the process of all the things that you have to do to go out there and play pro football, just in terms of the play calling and sliding the protections and managing the motions and all that kind of stuff. He just had to get up to speed on that stuff. But he has just gone lightning quick at coming up that learning curve. And here's something to remember. We have now heard from a number of people. He is in that office every single day with Kevin Stefanski, going over tape and learning this pro game. And I think that has helped him tremendously. So for the narrative that's out there that Kevin Stefanski has tried to sabotage him and that he doesn't like him, no. The reason why Shedeur has learned as quickly as he has is because of all that extra time that Kevin Stefanski has put in with him in that office.
Well said, Mary Kay.
And then you got Tyvis Powell rubbing shoulders. Well said, Mary Kay. No, it wasn't. It wasn't well said. There's so many flaws with that. For starters, Shedeur doing exactly what we always told you that he would do. That's for starters. Number two, if Kevin is so great at developing quarterbacks, if he's so great at developing Shedeur, why he ain't do that with Dylan Gabriel? Riddle me that. If this extra time and the time that he's spending in the office if that's the sole reason why Shedeur is balling, why he ain't do that with Dylan Gabriel? Why he ain't pull Dylan Gabriel? Dylan Gabriel was in his office. He was. Not only that, not trying to be funny, but Myles Garrett had already been pointed out much earlier in the season. I don't know, maybe like week 3, week 4, something like that. Myles Garrett had already pointed out Shedeur, first one in the building, last one to leave. always in the, always in the room with Stefanski and going over film and looking at Myles Garrett. Ben said this about him a long time ago. Ben said that he was doing these things. So to push this narrative that this stuff didn't start happening until a couple weeks ago, that's BS. Myles Garrett Ben said that he see him, he's first one here. I always see him. When I come in and I walk past Stefanski's office, he in there. Every time. That's what Myles Garrett had said week 3, week 4, 5, something like that. Way before now. And again, not only that, if this whiteboard work and this iPad work or whatever this is that's going on in the office, if this is so earth-shattering and it's so vital to the development of a quarterback and it's what makes him throw for 360 some yards, why he didn't do that with Dylan Gabriel? Why he didn't do that with his hand-picked quarterback? Wouldn't you think that he would be, like, if there's anybody who's finna just excel at this super rate, wouldn't it be the supercomputer? Is what Kevin told us, Dylan Gabriel? Wouldn't it be the supercomputer? If there's anybody who's just about to just excel at this super fast rate and pick this stuff up and learn it so great, wouldn't it be the supercomputer? Wouldn't it be him? So that's my question for starters. If this is all Stefanski's doing, and all this extra work that he putting in with Shedeur, well, why he wasn't doing that with Dylan Gabriel? Was he doing that with Dylan Gabriel? And if he was, it didn't work. And so yet again, that's an indictment on you, Stefanski, because you picked Gabriel over Shedeur. And you said that it's because he was the better processor. But now all of a sudden, when you get with Shedeur for 3 weeks, he's just accelerated so fast into the super processor all of a sudden. Because you're working with him on the iPad. You taking extra time with him on the iPad now. So that's why he's just accelerated at such this super fast rate, is because you taking extra time after practice now to practice with him, and now he just accelerated at this super fast rate, and it's all because of you. Well, guess what? Even if that was true, that's even more of an indictment on you, because why wouldn't you do it from the start? Why didn't you do that from the start? Why didn't you do that as soon as you got rid of Joe Flacco? Why you ain't do that then? Why you ain't be like, you know what, let me go ahead and start getting Shedeur ready? Like, if it's just such this accelerated rate, and oh my God, he's picking this stuff up so fast. You mean to tell me that you didn't know that you couldn't notice that beforehand? Like, you would, none of that rung a bell to you beforehand? At no point did you say to yourself before, like, all right, well, you know what, let me get a couple reps in here for Shedeur and see if he can manage it. Nah, y'all told us he was so trash, you not worthy of no first team reps. No backup quarterback getting no first team reps. Gabriel getting all the reps. So Gabriel getting all the reps, he getting all the iPad time, he getting all the office time with Stefanski, and he's still going out there stinking it up. But somehow you want me to believe that Kevin is the one who's responsible for why Shedeur is performing at such this high rate like that. And there's no way that he was sabotaged. Man, listen here. I ain't never been one to just push the full-on sabotage narrative. What I said was Stefanski has a way of ruining talent, because he just want to force it into his system, and then that ends up ruining the talent. That was the reason that I didn't want Shedeur coming to the Browns. The only reason I didn't want Shedeur coming to the Browns is because I felt like Stefanski was going to ruin him. It was the only reason I didn't want him here. And I'm like, okay, well, they didn't fire Stefanski after this crazy 3 and whatever season when he's clearly the problem. In my opinion, he was the problem the year before that. So I'm like, well, what is we getting Shedeur for? So he can ruin them the same way he done played around with these other quarterbacks? Nah, man, I don't want him here. And then lo and behold, When he gets here, it's all this extra weird stuff that goes on throughout the process of him being the quarterback. And you mean to tell me he goes from he's just not ready. He struggles to get in and out of the huddle and manage the motions and, slide the protections and all this. So you mean to tell me all of this crap that he just couldn't get a grasp on for all this time? You mean to tell me that somehow he was able to do that? He was able to get it all figured out in 3 weeks? Would that sound like a supercomputer to me? That sounds like a super processor to me. He was able to figure out all these, how to slide the protection and how to manage the motions and how to get in and out of the huddle and the verbiage and all this other. He was able to get all this figured out in 3 weeks. So if he was able to do all this in 3 weeks, you thought he was arrogant when he said it in the post game. He was like, imagine what, he was like, this 1 week of practice. Imagine if I had a whole, off season and all this other stuff. You thought he was being arrogant. Well, to me, it sounds like it's the truth. Because look at how you're talking about him excelling and progressing and how he's just, at this accelerated rate. And this ain't but 3 weeks. So it sounded to me like he was right. Like, imagine if he had more than 3 weeks. And then you want to turn your nose up at people saying sabotage? I can't turn my nose up at him. Because they looking at it like, well, imagine if you had started him from the beginning. If he doing all this with only 3 weeks. Could that be a part of the reason why you ain't want to give him no reps? Because you knew in your mind, like, yeah, if I get his MF for some reps, like, this is really about to be crazy. Like, he's about to be the quarterback, and I don't want him. That's why I reached up to get Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, because I didn't want this lane. I don't like him. I don't like his daddy. I don't like his watch. I don't like his backwards hat. He probably going to try to come in here and don't want to run my system. The same system that you'd have had to pass the playbook over in back-to-back years. You'd have had to pass that playbook over to somebody else. But this is a good coach. This is a good coach, though. This is a coach that people be like, oh, I'd let him. I wouldn't have a problem with him. He'll have a job tomorrow. Yeah, he is gonna get the job tomorrow. And then in 6 weeks, after the first 6 weeks of the season of him having the job, he's gonna have to hand his playbook. He's gonna have to hand the playbook over to somebody else. Again, not to mention, same thing that happened last year with Ken Dorsey. When he got the playbook, and all of a sudden, Jameis was throwing for all these yards. Somehow, Tommy Reese get the playbook. It's all these yards being thrown for. Common denominator, Kevin. And the fact that when he hands the playbook to somebody else, we can get down the field passes now. We get 66-yard touchdown passes now. And for all the people who talk about the one he threw to Dylan Sampson, no, we just threw a screen and then he just ran the rest of the way. Okay, well, that one that he threw to Jerry Jeudy, in the air. Right on the money. Jerry Jeudy just catch it and now I can just run it, boom, 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 boom. Mind you, they were just into it last week. So clearly it's something, while they talk about his immaturity, well, there's something mature about him because he was able to have that discourse with Jerry Jeudy on camera in front of everybody. And in the very next week, come out there and throw a touchdown bomb to him. So whatever it was, they figured it out. And if he was so immature, well, that wouldn't have been the case, if you ask me. That wouldn't have been something that we ended up seeing. Because if he's immature, well, I'm finna hold that against you, Jerry Jeudy. How dare you show me up in front of everybody against the world and my daddy watching? How dare you show me up like that? No, Something was mature in him to get that situation figured out between him and Jerry Jeudy well enough to where he could throw a touchdown bomb to him in the game. In real time. So, it's finna be extremely... I know that there's still going to be people who hold on to this thing. The whole Kevin Stefanski, the quarterback is in 2026 and all this other extra crap. This is why the Browns are the way that they are. You had Baker Mayfield and you wasn't satisfied. Well, Kevin Stefanski. He wasn't satisfied with that. Tampa Bay seemed to be satisfied with it. So here we are yet again We heard all this fifth round pick. He's not that good. He's not ready. He's not good. He's not ready. He's not ready. He's not good. He's not ready. And then in like his first 3 starts, he done broke like 5-6 records. In his first 3 starts, he done broke like 5-6 records. And then this is my thing. It's like, should we be quick to anoint him the Messiah? No, we shouldn't. But to act like we need to see just so much more of him before we can definitively say, like, this guy can be a starter in the NFL. This is a starting NFL quarterback. Because Jackson Dart has shown less than what Shedeur. Jackson Dart don't have one of these games that Shedeur just had. Jackson Dart don't have one of those. But the Giants are already firmly, that's our franchise quarterback. But yet here we are, the only rookie quarterback to throw for 300 yards this year. 5th round pick. He the only one to throw for 300 yards. We like, well, I mean, it was against the Titans. I don't know. You know, I mean, we have to, you know, I mean, we're going to have to see more of this. You know, we have to see more in order to, you know, and I don't know that still says that we don't take a quarterback next year because when this is my thing. If the quarterback, let's just say this is fast forward to next year, and you pick Fernando Mendoza or Ty Simpson or whoever it is, you pick one of them lanes. If they came in and had a game that was 364 passing yards, 3 TDs, and another rushing TD, y'all anointing him. You're anointing him right then and there. Because, he just first overall pick, look at that. He played like a first overall pick, but because the guy who got drafted in the 5th round, you only want to focus on the 5th round when we all knew he shouldn't have been drafted in the 5th round. Is that what the 49ers did with Brock Purdy? I can't recall. I can recall. That's not what they did. When Brock Purdy got out there and he looked like he could work, he was looking like, wait a minute, that looked like an NFL quarterback. They never turned back. They never looked back. They never looked back. At no point did they ever question, well, I mean, this is Mr. Irrelevant. This guy was literally the last pick in the draft, the very last person selected. So you know how you on the playground and you picking teams and everybody get picked, and usually the last guy to get picked is like you trash. That's why you last. That's why you got picked last, because you trash. This was the last pick in the draft, not just a 5th round. He was the very last pick. When he got out there and showed that he could play quarterback in the NFL, he didn't go out there and just light the world on fire. He just went out there and showed that he could play NFL quarterback. And they was like, you know what, hey man, we might be on to something here. I know we did all this for for Trey Lance, but Brock Purdy look all right. And not only that, but Shanahan is telling us, hey, you want a quarterback? That's the one. I know he was the last pick. I know we picked him last and got all that other stuff, but I'm watching it. Hey, that's the one. He the guy. I know we said this, we spent all this time and effort and picked all this with this other guy. Purdy, that's the one. I know it don't look glamorous and all that, but trust me, it's him. And they trusted him, and it's been him. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to figure out, like, what do the Browns, like, what do you want? What do you want? Because at this point, it's like, what do you want him to do? He out there breaking records. When Baker Mayfield did that, it only took us one game to see Baker Mayfield. We saw Baker Mayfield in that one game. The first time that he came in and took over for Tyrod Taylor, we said, that's the franchise quarterback. That's him. That's what we said. Now, I understand Baker was drafted in the 1st round. He was the number 1 overall pick. I understand. But what I'm saying is, despite that this guy was drafted in the 5th round, he put up number 1 overall pick numbers. So you had the number 1 overall pick that was on the other team with a better supporting cast, is what y'all saying. And he outplayed him. So my thing is this. I'm looking at the play on the football field. I'm not finna just go with another guy just because, he was just because he was the number 1 overall pick. Well, so was Ryan Leaf. How did that work out? So was Jamarcus Russell. How did that work out? He was the number 1 overall pick. How did he do? So I'm just saying, I'm going by the football play that I see on the field. And what I see on the field, he look like an NFL quarterback. Borderline, this could be your franchise. If in these, I think, 4 remaining games, if he go out there and have another performance that resembles that, I'm sorry. I'm going to be like, that's the guy. How could you not say that that's the guy? What more you want him to do? Because if Mendoza come in here and do that, you're going to anoint him immediately. Last but not least, get Stefanski the heck up out of here. As soon as possible. Him, his wildcat, his trickeration, his evaluation of quarterbacks, put it all, package it all together, Bubba Ventrone, package all of that together and then ship him off to wherever, send him to the Giants and let him take his 2-point conversions and all his trickery and that weak playbook, that nasty playbook that he got. Take all that stuff, take it all over there. Go right ahead. Go get you another job tomorrow. Go right ahead. Promise we won't be missing you. We're going to be too busy celebrating the touchdowns that 12 is throwing out there on the field. Dogs on the couch. Signing off, man.